his what? Hisuian? I think it's Hisuian. Anyway, Hisuian Growlithe is a thing now, and despite it being more red than its original Kanto counterpart, it's actually a rock type now, and it has a little horn and more fluff. And you know what? I quite like this design, so let's figure out how to draw it. And if you're looking forward to Pokemon Legends Arceus, let me know how excited you are in the comments down below. I will be dropping some really good tips throughout this tutorial, so don't just skip to the end or you're gonna miss all those really good parts. Also, if you do end up enjoying this video, I would really appreciate a like, and also subscribe to this channel for more tutorials just like this one in the future. For now, let's get started. I bet you can guess how we're going to start this drawing. That's right, we're going to start with a circle for where the head's going to be. Now keep in mind, if you're working on a piece of paper instead of working digitally like on software like Clip Studio Paint, which is the software I'm using, just keep in mind how much space you've got on your page, because it's a lot easier to work if you just give yourself a lot of room. Running out of room is definitely no bueno. Now at the very top of the circle, we actually want to draw his horn, just right at the very top of it. Okay, so it's basically just a circle with a triangle sat on the top. Now what we'll do, I've just thought of an easy way of doing this. Try and draw a line across the middle so it looks a bit like a Pokeball, funnily enough. Okay, now it doesn't have a Pokeball for a head, but close enough. So we'll put that there, and then where this triangle kind of touches the edge of the circle, draw a straight line down from it, and you end up with what looks a bit like the Smash Brothers logo. So from here, we're going to draw a little nose, a little small triangle, just sticking on the edge of the circle there. And if it helps, you can colour it in just briefly, just lightly, just so that you know it's the nose and it just doesn't look like a random triangle. And then out from this, we're going to start drawing his snout. So it's a curve out around the circle, and it joins back in on that line, right on the line where the circle is. And then you follow this line, but instead of following it all the way, you curve it up as you reach the bottom of that line there, if that's clear. You begin to just kind of curve it up, and you come to about here, and that's the edge of his mouth. Now this is probably a good point to just go ahead and draw the rest of the mouth. So the rest of the mouth, again from that point there, it's the bottom jaw, it curves down, and it just kind of swoops into the circle that we drew earlier. Again, it's just kind of lines meeting lines, which is really helpful in building up our character's design here. So I've just drawn that line in there to meet up there, and you can add a little tongue inside, little line in the middle of the tongue there as well. Now as always guys, if I'm going a bit too fast at any point, feel free to pause the video or reverse it or slow it down. I'm going to draw a line up just from this part of that line there, that horizontal line that we drew across. And here is one of his ears, his nearest ear or her ear. And we're going to draw a bit of a funny shape. I don't know how to describe it, but it just kind of comes out of the circle a little bit, and you draw another version of it but just inside for the inner ear. Just there. Now the other ear we're actually going to draw last on the head because it's behind everything else. So for now, just kind of keep in mind the shape of this circle here, and as we get to about here, we're going to draw a lump that comes out, and it just kind of meets the nose but then disappears behind it. Then when you get there, we're going to start drawing the rest of the hair. So start about here, above this line here, bring it down through it, and then draw a line that points towards the ear that we drew but doesn't go all the way. It just kind of gets to there, and straight away we've got the nearest part of the hair covering their eyes. Now there's another little curve here, just a much smaller one, and this one's a really big one. This one actually looks a bit like a circle that doesn't get completed. More of a C shape, I suppose you could say. A C shape that's on its side. And it doesn't quite get back to the circle. None of this does actually. As we just draw some cloudy hair that goes in behind his ear. Now this doesn't have to be perfect because it is a hair. It's just hair, so you can kind of add a bit of motion to it if you want. You can draw it a bit wider if you want, because hair is fairly dynamic. It moves around a lot. All I'm doing here is I'm just kind of drawing the end of the muzzle. There's a little bit here, little line there if you can see that, in the official artwork, so you might want to add that. And then the other ear just kind of pokes out of this bit here. You've got one part of the ear sitting on the front of the fringe there, and another part sitting on top of the head just there. And there's also a little puff of hair here just behind the face. And there we go, we've actually already drawn Huisiane? I don't know how to pronounce it actually. I think it's something like Hisuian Growlithe. You might want to add a couple of fangs here and here. That's hidden by the guideline a bit, but you can tell that the fang is just kind of there, pointing underneath the jaw towards the tongue. Now for the rest of the body. Now you might have seen in the original sketch that I did in the intro, there's like a big bean shape. Just draw a big bean. If you really want to imagine it as like, you know, like an Among Us bean, you can. Although I don't see how that would help you. But just like a big bean for the body. And then all the limbs kind of come out of this. Now I think it's a good place to draw the tail here, because the tail's really fun. You just start at the back, you draw a big curve, and it's got this almost like, I don't know if you saw the Disney movie Hercules, but it had a lot of this kind of going on, these swirls, these kind of spirals with the clouds of Mount Olympus. I really like that style. I think it's something that's a bit underused, but also very easy to draw. So just a couple of those. Remember, they're going in opposite directions. This one is like a helix going this way, but this one's like a helix going this way. And it comes down and just meets the posterior about there. Now speaking of the posterior, we may as well continue by drawing off the bean, and we're going to draw the hind leg now. So it flicks out here for a heel. It's kind of the heel. And now draw the foot, or rather the paw, and remember the front of it, this portion, is a little bit wider than the heel. So you get this kind of like, this is quite narrow and quite slim, but where the toes are, gets a bit thicker. And just to demonstrate a bit more, I'm going to actually draw some curves here for the toes. There we go. And now all we have to do is just draw a curve that brings this back to the bean. And you want to go inside the bean a little bit as well, just to show a bit of a fold for that leg. There we go. Now if you want to at this stage, you can add his stripes. They're kind of like 3-pronged stripes. They've got like a fork pattern coming out of them. Just going around the backs of the legs there. And now I think it's better if we draw the chest cloud fur fluff thing. So I think it's better to start from the chin here. Draw a curve that's just dipping down a tiny bit. And at the end, as you can see in the example that I drew earlier, there's just kind of like 3 bulbs, 3 spheres kind of hanging off this. So what you can do is take a structured approach if you want to, or you can just freehand them. But here I'm going to draw very faintly, very gently with my pencil, 3 circles. They're going to be overlapping a little bit. The middle one is going to be obviously overlapping the one that's further back, which is that one. But this one's going to be overlapping them both because it's nearer to us. So we're going to see the whole of this one. But the end of this is covering the back, so to speak, of this bulb here, with it being, you know, a perspective thing. It's kind of like a 3D thing. And now we want to draw this coming up to about there with another bit of a curve to it. So now a swirl on this as well, and a swirl on top of this, and a swirl on top of this, keeping in theme with the swirliness of the tail up here, which again I think is just a really neat design. Very simple, very underused, but very effective. So he hasn't got any forelegs yet, so we're going to fix that. Don't worry, we're actually going to fix that. So coming out from underneath this bulb here, we're going to draw like a stump, okay? And again, draw faintly because we're going to add some claws to this. So as you bring this back towards the body, do the same thing as you did with the toes earlier, where this part of it is a bit thicker. See, this region is a bit wider than where it connects to the body. It's such a subtle difference, but it is wider down here. And those small, subtle curves can really, really make a drawing. I'm just solidifying that a bit. There we go. Now, those claws I talked about. There's a little triangle here for a claw. There we go. And there's another little triangle kind of poking off this end. And right at the bottom, the equivalent of like the palm of your hand, there's a little dot. Almost like one of those paw pads that cats have, you know, beans, whatever people call them. And then another wedge on this side. There we go. And we bring this up underneath that bulb there. And then we just got like a little triangle here. And another triangle just there for another claw. And now some stripes. So we'll add, the stripes are kind of got like a chevron pattern to them. And again, they've got those 3 ends like that. So down and then up behind it. Just a little bit of like a tick shape going on because it gets hidden by this bulb. This bulb hides a lot of things behind it. That's because it's quite large and prominent and just kind of, there's a lot behind it really. So again, there's another strip on this one. We can't really see too much of that one because it's again behind the chest fur. And let's add some finishing touches now. We've got a bit of a funny shaped back here if I'm honest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to straighten it out a bit. I'm going to ignore my guideline and I'm just going to bring it back around here. Now it looks like I've just kind of gone over the original line. I haven't. I've corrected its trajectory a bit. It had too much of a sideways trajectory and not enough of an upward trajectory. So that's what I fixed when I went through that line just then. And you can see there's just a bit of a better shape going on with the back there. So last touch is 3 stripes, nice and easy. There's one that emerges from the back of the hair here. Again, it's got 3 ends. This one goes over the spine and nearly gets to this leg. Just about gets to the start of that leg. Don't forget to give it some curve so it looks 3D. It looks like it's actually wrapping around the body. And then this one again gets quite close to the leg but doesn't quite make it. Then we wrap it around there. And there's also a little bit of white on the underbelly here, so you can add that in as well, just inside the original bean shape that we drew. And that's it. That's it. We've drawn the new Growlithe. It was relatively simple. At least if you follow the pattern of the, framing out this circle first and adding things to it and just drawing line by line, it makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to get mine all kind of finalized and looking nice and fancy. You can do the same if you want to, but either way, I'll see you guys in just a sec. And there we go. Funny how when you break down something into its most simple components, it can be much easier to make sense of how to draw it. I always encourage people to use building blocks in all of their drawings, just because it makes things easy to understand, and this drawing is no different. Not too many new Pokemon were announced in the recent trailer, but I think out of all of them, Hisuian Growlithe was probably my favorite. And that's that. I'd love to see your drawings in the Discord, by the way, guys. I will be, at the end of every month, I'm gonna start doing like a bit of a showcase to show what you guys have been up to, just the way I used to, but all kind of compiled into a single video. So if you've got some art that you're really proud of, come and share it in the Discord and I might show it at any of my end of month videos. That's it for now. Make sure you like the video if you did actually like it, and subscribe to this channel for more tutorials just like this one, and more really exciting stuff in the future. Until next time.